What's good, y'all? We have officially made it to the end of the regular season. Well, I guess technically not officially. As I'm recording this right now, there's some of the games going on. I'm doing it on the last day of the season. The Eastern playoffs are locked up. We know exactly how it's going to go. The West, we got a few more games to go until we find that out. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you my play-in tournament predictions. I'm going to tell you who's going to win each matchup, get what seed, and then we'll have the playoff picture set up. And then Saturday, once it's official and all the play-in games are done, right before the playoffs start, I'm going to be dropping my playoff predictions. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the playoff predictions. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. We're going to start off with the 7-8 matchup out east, which is going to be the 7th-seeded Miami Heat versus the 8th-seeded Atlanta Hawks. It's going to be in Miami, home game for Miami, so that's going to benefit them just slightly, you know, the home crowd on their side. This matchup's a little interesting to me because these teams are kind of like polar opposites. When you look at, obviously, the Miami Heat, they are always have been a defensive first team. They're going for defense. They are ranked 8th in defense this season, while their offense has been pretty bad. They are 25th in offense. Meanwhile, roles reverse for the Atlanta Hawks. They are 7th in offense and only 22nd in defense. So you know there's that age-old saying, defense wins championships. That's kind of where I'm going in this, where the Miami Heat have a slight edge for me just because they have a solid defense that they always can rely on their defense. Their offense, some games it's hitting, and if it's hitting in this game, it's going to be wrapped real early. And then even though their offense usually does struggle, I have more faith in the Miami Heat as a proven team. You know, they were the 1 seed last year, made it to the conference finals. They made it to the finals team with the same big three of Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Tyler Hero. Obviously, the pieces around them aren't as good as when they made it to that finals, and, you know, they're not in the bubble anymore. So it could be a little bit more difficult. But playoff Jimmy Butler, I trust a lot more than Trae Young. Don't get me wrong, though. Trae did have that deep playoff run into the playoffs, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals as well. But the year after that, they versed the Miami Heat in the playoffs, and they got beat 4-1. It was a gentleman's sweep. Trae Young had a very bad series, very, very bad series. And I kind of seeing that happening again, I'm not going to lie. I think Miami's defense is really going to, you know, put some pressure on Trae Young. The only difference now is he has DeJounte Murray. That's the whole reason why they got DeJounte Murray, to give Trae another ball handler, another creator besides him, so he doesn't have all that pressure on him. It's going to be heavy on those two if they can, you know, really produce a lot for the Hawks. And then also, besides those two, I'm looking for a big game from John Collins, if we're being honest here. The Heat have 0 power forward. They have old-ass Kevin Love. No disrespect to Kevin Love. You know, in your prime, you were great. Right now, you can't defend for anything. So I need John Collins to be aggressive. I need him to attack the rim hard. I need him to be knocking down his shots. Kevin Love cannot guard you, my guy. Caleb Martin, no disrespect, cannot guard you with your size. He shouldn't be able to. I need you aggressive. And then Trae Young, you know, throw them lobs up to him. You know, I think John Collins is really going to be the big X factor in this game. All that being said, though, I still am taking the Miami Heat to stay in their 7-seed slot and lock that up and win this game. Like I said before, you got playoff Jimmy Butler with his intensity coming. Then you got Bam Adebayo, who's been the most aggressive he's been in his whole career on the offensive side of the ball. Then you got Tyler Hero, who has been killing it, closing out games with Miami Heat this season. Those three right there, I think, are going to be able to carry their offense. They'll be able to still fall back on their defense, and they're going to pull out this game. Then we have the 9-10 matchup between the 9th-seeded Toronto Raptors and the 10th-seeded Chicago Bulls. This is another interesting matchup to me. There's a few different storylines going on, which I think can make it a little interesting. First off, you have DeMar DeRozan coming back to Toronto. Maybe he can have a little revenge game, you know, have an insane performance in the play-in to propel the Bulls to get forward, maybe even get that 8th seed. Then you also have the best play-in tournament player in the history of the play-in tournament, Patrick Beverley, in this game. So maybe we can see some of his intensity in this game as well. Then you got over there in Toronto, you know, Nick Nurse saying once the season's over, he's going to take a step back and, you know, weigh his options out. Basically, he's leaving the team. You know, Toronto had a disappointing season. Chicago had a disappointing season. So I just feel like this could be, you know, just like a heavy-hitting slugfest game. And I do think it's going to come down to, like, the little things, you know, the dirty work and the little extra possessions that you can get in this game. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. You know, the Raptors protect the ball the best in the league. They give up the least amount of turnovers. And then they also cause the most turnovers, at least for steals-wise. They get the most steals. I should say not cause the most turnovers. They get the most steals in the league also. So if you protect the ball and then cause turnovers, that's a pretty good recipe. And then on the rebounding side, they're polar opposites. Toronto is a great offensive rebounding team, terrible defensive rebounding team. Chicago, though, is a awful offensive rebounding team and a great defensive rebounding team. So whoever can beat that matchup, if Toronto can grab those offensive rebounds, or if, Chicago can get those defensive rebounds, whatever that's going to be, I think that could be really the deciding factor. Like I said, the little things in this game, because these teams match up pretty well together. Neither team really shoots threes, at least effectively or really high volume. Neither of them really take them or make them. So I don't think that's going to be really a factor. I think Toronto's length, though, could give, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan some, struggles. They just have so many versatile defensive bodies to throw at these guys. I think it could really bother them. So because of that, I'm going to be taking the Toronto Raptors to win and move on to versus the Atlanta Hawks to get that 8th seed right there. The one curveball that I could throw is I think DeMar DeRozan does have a real shot to just have a revenge game, just drop 40 points, 45, 50 points, whatever it is, a huge game. I think he has the potential to do that to propel the Bulls forward. But unless DeMar has that insane scoring game, I think Toronto takes this one. And now for the final play-in game out east, we have the 8th seed versus the 9th seed, the Atlanta Hawks versus the Toronto Raptors. Whoever wins this right here gets the 8th seed. The other one's season is over. So kind of similar to what I was saying about Chicago, I'm kind of going to say about Atlanta. I think just the fact that Toronto has so many versatile defenders on this team, I think it could really cause some havoc for Trae Young and for DeJounte Murray. But to be honest, Trae Young's probably going to get his own. DeJounte's probably going to get his own. But I think the most important defensive personnel that Toronto has in this game is Jakob Poeltl. I think that him guarding the pick and roll is going to determine how this game comes out. We all know Trae Young loves to run the pick and roll. He loves to have a lob-threat rim runner, just run the pick and roll with him, just simplify the game like that. So, depending on how Jakob Poeltl can guard that, if he can, show up and guard Trae's floater, but also stay back and guard the lob, don't let the pocket pass, a little bounce pass, none of that. If he can guard the pick and roll successfully, I think Toronto has a very, very good shot in this. But, like I said, it comes down to Jakob Poeltl, the most important defensive player on Toronto for this game. The overall rebounding is also very important in this game, so that does also come back down to Jakob Poeltl, but also Siakam, Scotty Barnes can get down there and grab the rebounds. OG can get down there and grab the rebounds. I think if Okongwu and Clint Capella are going to be grabbing those offensive rebounds and just going back up, feasting on those boards, this game is shot. I think it really does come down to the centers and the big men in this game. And then on top of that, I really don't think Atlanta has anyone to guard Pascal Siakam. They do have Onyeka Okongwu who would be coming off the bench for them, but I think that's probably their only guy that can really has the size and the lateral quickness to keep up with Pascal on the perimeter and then also down low. But I am expecting a very, very big offensive game from Pascal. I think he's going to put on for Toronto and secure them that 8th seed. So that means that I have the 7th seed in Miami Heat staying at the 7th seed, going up to face Boston in the first round of the playoffs. And then also I have the 9th seeded Toronto Raptors winning 2 play-in games and moving up to the 8th seed to verse the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. In the comments down below, let me know who you think's coming out the East play-in tournament. Alright, so it's been a few hours. The Western Conference games just wrapped up. I just finished watching the Pelicans-Timberwolves game. That was a crazy one. If you guys watched that, I'm sure you know. Very good basketball. A lot of different things going on in that game. The Rudy Gobert, the Jaden McDaniels. We'll get to all that when we break down the actual play-in games. But the final play-in seeds go accordingly. We got the Lakers locking up the 7th seed. The Timberwolves at the 8th seed since they beat the Pelicans. New Orleans slides down to 9. And then Thunder, the OKC Thunder, are number 10 right now. So just like out east, we're going to start off with the 7-8 matchup between the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Now, I'm not going to lie, I've made videos about this Lakers team before. If you want a more in-depth about it on the channel right now, go check that one out. But in the video, I kind of basically say that if they had this roster since the beginning of the season and played the whole thing, there is no way in hell they would be a 7 seed right now. This is a super, super good 7 seed. Since they made all these trades, they'd have a top 3 defense in the whole league. They have the 3rd best defensive rating at 112.3. Their offense is about league average, 14th on the upper echelon, I guess you could say. The upper half, not upper echelon. Upper half of the league. So, kind of like Miami, what I was saying, how, the defense is so good, the offense is kind of you can fall back on the defense. Except the Lakers have a better defense and a better offense. and arguably a top duo in the league in Anthony Davis and LeBron James, who both look super healthy right now. And you match that up against a Timberwolves team whose offense has been pretty shaky throughout the whole season. Their defense has been pretty good, though. You know, you have Rudy Gobert, you're probably going to have a top 10 defense, and that's what they had, a top 10 defense, exactly 10th. Obviously, Rudy does have a lot of, impact on the game, but another reason why they had such a good defense is Jaden McDaniels. And literally, as I was walking into my studio right now to record this video, I got a notification that Jaden McDaniels broke his hand from punching the wall. Broke his hand. He's going to be out for the playoffs. He broke his hand. Like, what stupidity is that? Why would you do that? I know it's a lot of emotions. I know the Rudy Gobert, Kyle Anderson thing, there was that big fight. I'm sure the locker room was going crazy. But why would you punch a wall knowing your team needs you? You are arguably one of the most valuable, one of the best defenders in the league right now, and you punch a wall, sacrificing yourself. You're not playing in the playoffs for your team. Like, that is insane to me. I know Bron is cheesing crazy right now, knowing that he does not have to deal with being guarded by Jalen McDaniels. He's going to be able to go to the rack. I would assume maybe they put Ant on him. I don't really know who else they would put on him. Taurean Prince, maybe? They really don't have too many good options for Bron now that Jaden McDaniels is out, and I think he's going to feast. Obviously, you're going to have Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns at the rim, two really big bodies. But you have a big body of yourself with Anthony Davis that you can, help manage that down there. I think that is going to be a big impact losing Jaden McDaniels. I think Bron is going to be able to feast in this one win or go home situation in this. I trust Bron. Like I said, though, having Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert down there in the paint could it hurt a bad shooting Lakers team. They don't really have many shooters around their team. They have better shooters than the beginning of the season, but still nothing crazy. So you're going to have to try to get Rudy Gobert out of that paint. Obviously, Anthony Davis can stretch the floor a little bit. You don't want him settling for three-point shots or mid-range shots, but that can at least help gravitate Rudy Gobert outside of the paint and maybe open it up for a Bron, for a D'Lo, for Austin Reeves to get to the rim. Speaking of D'Lo, I do kind of expect him to have a slight revenge game. He got traded there. They said there was locker room terror. He wasn't good for the locker room in there. So maybe there's some bad blood. He's going to, come with an extra vengeance. You got LeBron, who just crowned himself in that last game against the Jazz. He's locked in. Anthony Davis has been killing it to finish the season off. I'm taking the Lakers, and I don't think it's really going to be close. Then we have the 9th-seeded Pelicans going up against the 10th-seeded OKC Thunder, the youngest team in basketball right now, making the play-in. Pretty insane story. The Thunder's the type of team that likes to just get out in transition, play fast, really fast pace, get to the rim, get open threes, and that's how they run their offense majority of the time. And I think the lack of rim protection, they have Valanciunas, who isn't the best rim protector. Then their backup center most of the times is small ball Larry Nance. So the lack of rim protection, I think Shea is going to feast. That's where his bread and butter is. Get to the rim, get to the free throw line, all that. I think he's going to kill it in that. But at the same time, the Thunder really don't have too much big men themselves. So when Valanciunas is on the court, I expect him to be dominating, with his size, just, pummeling. They could have Jalen Williams, J-Will, not J-Dub. They could have J-Will guarding him up. He's, still inexperienced, not the strongest defender. Then they got Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who could get some minutes, I guess, but I really don't see any big answer for Valanciunas. I think Brandon Ingram's going to be able to get to the rim at will. CJ McCollum can slash in there. So I think that could kind of be a little bit tough. But at the same time, the Thunder are one of the teams that are the best at causing turnovers. The Pelicans are one of the teams that give up the ball the most. So I think that dynamic isn't really good. Like I said, they like to get out in transition, so I'm sure they're going to get out in transition, causing all those turnovers. I think this young and hungry Thunder team go in and cause an upset in New Orleans, meaning they advance in the play-in tournament and move on to battle against the Timberwolves for the final playoff spot. Unfortunately, though, for this young Thunder team, they got the experience going in from that first round of the play-in. I think their run ends here, though, with the Timberwolves. As I was just saying before, talking about the Lakers, all the size they have with Cat and Rudy Gobert, and then all the lack of size that the Thunder have, I think that is just a mismatch in its own. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is going to feast on them. They have no one that can really guard him. And then Rudy Gobert isn't an offensive hub for no standard at all. He does not. You don't look for Rudy to give you offense. But at the same time, when you're being guarded by maybe J-Dub, he usually runs power forward for them. You're going to catch some lobs. You're going to catch some dunks. It's going to be some easy offense for the 7-footer. Then you take that on the other side of the court, and Rudy Gobert's paint protection could really hurt Shea, as I was just saying, with the lack of rim protection the Pelicans have. the Timberwolves have a whole lot of that. So having Rudy down there in the paint could really hurt the slashing Shea, you know, trying to get to the rim, trying to get to the free throw line. He might not be able to do that with such ease, especially because now he'd probably be guarded by Anthony Edwards, who in my opinion is a pretty underrated defender. I think when he's locked in, he has all the athleticism in the world. He can really lock up someone, and I think he would be the matchup now on Shea since they don't have Jaden McDaniels. I still can't believe that he punched that wall. I think it'll be a fun game to watch. I think it'll be a close game. But I do think the youngness and the lack of experience, plus the whole of having no center really for the Thunder, is going to be their ultimate demise. Meaning the Timberwolves lock up the 8th seed and they will go on to verse the Denver Nuggets in the first round, while the Lakers lock up the 7th seed to play the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round. Both of those series really interesting, but only time will tell. This whole week we have some play-in basketball. So excited for that. This Saturday, like I mentioned before, I'm dropping my playoff predictions once it's, you know, official who wins the play-in and all that. I'm going to be dropping that Saturday, the day the playoffs start, so make sure you subscribe to this channel right now so you don't miss that one. Leave a like on this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.